Josh Berry, WXMI Fox 17. Each one of the candidates at the top of the two tickets have made their way to West Michigan. We're going to see you all likely again before the election. Having talked to people at both of these rallies, I'm wondering, do you gauge support based on these competing rallies in this area? And do you see a disconnect as the candidate between supporters who would go to a Tim Walz rally at a museum in downtown Grand Rapids versus supporters here at a rally for you in a barn in rural Sparta?
Well, no, I don't see a disconnect. I think there's nothing wrong with having a rally in a barn, right? But look, there's nothing wrong with having a rally in a museum. And if you look at what we've been doing, I've been to downtown Grand Rapids, I think twice now in this campaign, just in the last few weeks. And we've been in rural parts of Michigan. We've been in urban parts of Michigan, suburban parts. We're going to go everywhere because I think you ought to try to earn every person's vote. And that's how Donald Trump and I think about this race. Now, look, I'm a realist about politics. Any campaign, there's two things you're trying to do. You're trying to persuade swing voters, right? People who haven't yet decided. And my argument to swing voters is simple. You've got two very different records. Donald Trump's record was peace and prosperity, no wars, lower inflation, rising wages, and Kamala Harris has been chaos all over the world. She can't answer a single question without sounding like a whatever. And she's had policies that have made it impossible for people to afford housing and food in the country that all of us love. So the records are totally different. That's my argument to swing voters. My argument to voters who are already going to vote for us, but of course this is the second part of any political campaign, is we got to get out there and actually vote. And I know every single person in this room, every single one of us knows at least one person who's going to vote for Donald J. Trump, but only if they actually go to the polls. Okay? Every single one of us has a responsibility to call that person, to offer to drive that person, and make sure that every single one of us gets out there and makes our voice heard on November 5th. That's what we have to do. Or before November 5th, right? Because we know that Democrats have beaten us in early voting for a long time. I don't like the idea that we have election season. I think we ought to have election day in this country, but whether we like it or not, we've got election season, so we might as well take advantage of it, or the Democrats are ultimately going to win this race. Now, think about this. I've seen this play out in every race that I've ever been involved in, where I've got friends of mine who are running. It's like you take 100 people, and 95 of them, 100 people are going to vote for Donald Trump, or 100 people who are going to vote for whatever candidate that I think they should vote for. 95 of them eventually do it. And then 5 of them wait until Election Day, and then what happens? Well, mom gets sick, so you got to go and take her to the hospital. Or the kid, you got to go pick him up from school. Or maybe something comes up at work unexpected, and you're there too late, and you don't get an opportunity to make your voice heard. We've got to take advantage of every single thing that we have, and I know Pete Hoekstra will talk about this, has talked about this. We have got to get out there and make our voices heard. Now, I'll tell you, a Senate colleague, one of my favorite lines from any other political figure is he'll go in front of audiences and say, look, I want every single one of you to get out there and vote 10 times. And people get kind of uncomfortable. They sit and sort of shuffle their chairs a little bit. They laugh a little bit. Well, we're Republicans. We don't vote 10 times. We only vote once. Well, here's the way to legally vote 10 times. Take yourself to the polls, but take 9 other people to the polls too. And that's what all of us, I encourage you, all of us to do. Maybe we'll take just a couple more questions, then we'll have to get on the road.